Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. Daily Dose Radio is kind of like that roadside barbecue pit. You know, the one where you're traveling down the highway and you see the smoker and you see the little booth, and it's in an abandoned parking lot somewhere along the roadside, and you pull off and you get the best barbecue sandwich you've ever had, and you've never heard of the place before, and you probably will never go there again. Daily Dose Radio is kind of like that. It's kind of hidden off to the side of the internet superhighway, but man alive, some good stuff every day. It's prepared fresh just for you. Today we're looking at verses 2 and 3 in Psalm 52. And I said yesterday that we have a wonderful introduction that gives us great insight into this psalm. And we talked about the intro yesterday in Doeg the Edomite and what he did. And we go back to 1 Samuel chapter 22. I'll encourage you to go read that, and you'll find out about Doeg and his deed. But he's the man that's typified as the wicked man here, the man of mischief, or, as David begins in verse 1, O mighty man. Let me read for you 2 and 3. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs, like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Selah. In verses 2 and 3 we have the beginning of the case against the wicked man. And in this case, we're talking about Doeg, and we can go back and look at his story and what he was doing and understand that what David says here about this mighty man who loves mischief, we can see that happening in the story with Doeg the Edomite. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs. Now you notice mischief is used again. We had it there in verse 1. And I asked the question, why not strength? Why doesn't the mighty man like his strength? Here he likes his mischief. Because, there are some people who may not be strong physically. They may not be strong mentally. But they're strong in mischief making. They're able to make the mischief. They're able to make problems and troubles. They're able to dig into somebody else's life and talk about them. And that's, of course, his greatest weapon. This mighty man has a tongue. He has a tongue, and he knows how to use it. Like a sharp razor, it works deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than speaking righteousness. Now, Doeg, when he told Saul about David, he told him the truth that David had come, but he kind of mixed it with a little bit of his own perspective so that he could cast David in a bad light so he could please Saul. And of course, that's always where lying begins, isn't it? Lying begins when we want to please ourselves or someone else. And that's what Doeg does. He wants to please Saul. He wants to find himself in Saul's good graces because in the story, Saul's angry at everybody. He's yelling at his entire court. And so Doeg speaks up and he says, I saw David. He was down at the tabernacle. And he tells him all that Ahimelech had done for him. And he kind of twists it just a little bit to cast it in a light that Saul would enjoy. It was delicious. Lying rather than to speak righteousness. How come he couldn't say to Saul, you're crazy? And you need to come down off the throne. How come he couldn't say that? Well, he was afraid for his life, wasn't he? And we end verse 3 with the Selah. This psalm is wonderfully divided into pieces for us by the Selahs. We have 4, 5, 6 lines, and then the Selah, 4 lines in a Selah, and then we have the remainder of the psalm, which is 2, 4, 6, 8 lines. The Selah, of course, means that we're going to take a break. So tomorrow we'll come back and look at verse 4 and 5, and verse 4 concludes the case against the wicked man, and we'll talk about that then. I hope you'll join me on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.